Hello, I'm joined here today by Dr. Tomato. She has some very interesting insights about how to grow better tomatoes. Your thoughts, Doctor? Exciting stuff. Stay tuned for more tomato tips. If you have a vegetable garden, you probably want to grow tomatoes. We love tomatoes, but they're notoriously a difficult plant to grow. So, if you want to learn how to grow tomatoes for the first time, or if you want to troubleshoot some of your tomato problems, you're in the right place. Let's talk tomatoes. Today, we're going to talk about how to choose the right tomato for your garden, how to take care of your tomatoes once they're in the ground, and how and when to harvest. When you're thinking about choosing the right tomato for you, there's a few things you need to consider. One, you're going to think about determinate versus indeterminate tomatoes. We'll talk about that. You need to think about your climate, especially during the particular time of year when you're trying to grow tomatoes. And you also need to think about, what do you like? What do you want? Do you want them for your salads? Do you want big tomatoes so you can make a ton of pasta sauce? These will all go into your choices. Okay, big words, determinate versus indeterminate. Super simple. Determinate means they're gonna grow and they're gonna stop. They don't need as much support. They're gonna grow all their fruit at once and then they're done. That is great if you want to do like a big batch of canning of tomatoes or something like that. There's also indeterminate tomatoes, and so instead of growing and stopping, they kind of grow almost like a vine. They just keep growing and growing and growing and produce their fruit a little bit over a long period of time. They also need more support because the indeterminate tomatoes can get super lanky. They can be like 6-8 feet long or more, maybe. Sky's the limit with indeterminates. You also need to think about what time of year you're planting your tomatoes. Most people will plant their tomatoes in spring and then they will harvest the tomatoes in the summer. Here in Florida, I can actually grow tomatoes most of the year. I'll start early spring, go to harvest at the beginning of the summer, and then I'll do another planting at the beginning of summer, harvest late summer, and then now I'm doing my final fall harvest of tomatoes, and I'm hoping for tomatoes in November and December. So I use different size tomatoes, different types of tomatoes based on the time of year. So if I know I'm going to be getting tomatoes harvested in like my hot summertime where it's 90, 100 degrees, I can only expect good results from small tomatoes. The small tomatoes are less susceptible to the heat, to all the bugs that we get in the summer, and to diseases. And so if I have the small tomatoes during the hottest time of year, I might still do okay. But right now, it's a little bit cooler out, I'm wearing a sweater, I'm growing my bigger tomatoes. So I'm gonna try big beefsteak tomatoes because by the time I harvest them, it'll be nice, cool weather, probably 70s, 80s, and hopefully the beefsteaks will survive and there will be less pests and less chance of them bursting from big monsoons of rain that we get in the summer. So your time of year will help you pick if you should do a little tomato, big tomato, or maybe a medium tomato. All right, and the final consideration is just what kind of tomatoes do you like? I really enjoy growing a certain variety called black cherry because they are sweet and delicious, and I throw them on my salads, and they're perfect. And then sometimes I like to do big tomatoes, so I can do like big tomato sandwiches or for burgers or to make into a salsa or a sauce or something like that. So your preference matters. Don't grow a type of tomato that you don't like. Starting tomatoes from seed is pretty simple. You're just gonna get a seed packet that you've carefully selected, and you're gonna follow the instructions on it. Usually it'll say to start in a pot, so don't direct sow, don't just put the seed straight into your big soil. You wanna start them in a little pot with a little bit of dirt and let the seed grow, and once it becomes a bigger and bigger plant over several weeks, then you can bring it either to a bigger pot or you might be able to put it in the ground depending on the temperature and what your package says to do. You can also just buy a tomato from your regular garden center. That's a really good place to start, especially for beginners. That's where I started. So you just get a nice healthy looking tomato plant and you can plant it directly in your garden if it's warm enough for it. And then just try it out, see how it goes. Okay, so now your tomato plant is in the ground. Now what are you gonna do? How are you gonna take care of it? So a few things to consider are your soil and nutrition for the plant, your support system for the plant, and then actually taking care of the plant, trying to reduce your risk of diseases. Tomatoes are kind of like the needy dog. I have a needy dog. Tomatoes are the needy dog of the garden. They need to be looked after. They need a lot of attention. They need a lot of love and supervision. But if you are willing to provide those things, then they are awesome. And if you are looking for a very low maintenance plant that you don't have to look at for months on end, tomatoes probably aren't it. Tomatoes take a little extra time and care. So tomatoes tend to be quite hungry plants. So when I planted these guys, I had just put in some really good fresh dirt that had compost mixed in. So I know that my soil has lots of nutrition right now, but down the road I might have to add some extra fertilizer just because they consume so many nutrients in order to grow and produce really yummy tomatoes. So you can pick up any kind of balanced fertilizer. They make a ton of good organic fertilizers specifically for tomatoes these days. So it makes it super easy. You see a bag in the garden center, it says organic, it has a tomato on it. you'll probably be okay. I wanted to show you some of my tomato plants here as examples. So I started doing a Florida weave technique on these plants, but as you can see, even though I've done 2 layers of string, these guys have gotten so tall that they are starting to fall over. And so that means it's time for me to add another weave to my Florida weave, another line of string. So I'm gonna show you how to do that. This is an example of a Florida weave, one of the simplest ways to support tomatoes, especially your indeterminate tomatoes that are gonna keep growing and growing. So what I did is I have 2 rows of tomatoes in this bed, 1 on each side with marigolds in the middle. And then I've got these T-posts. I've got 1 on each end of each row. So I've got 4 total. And those were pretty cheap at the hardware store, I think like $6, and then I just beat them into the ground. Pretty simple. And then the whole weave part of the Florida weave is where you're taking this string at about maybe 8 to 10 inch intervals here. So I've got 2 rows started so far, and then each one will wrap on each side of the stem of the tomato. And so that'll help support it as it grows, and then you keep crisscrossing it as you hit each tomato. So I need to do my next row, and so I'm going to show you guys exactly what that looks like. So I was talking to you guys about how needy tomato plants can be, but I actually love taking care of my tomato plants. So I'm going to show you guys on some of my real life plants how I take care of them on a regular basis. So these are a couple of my healthiest tomato plants, but I can already see there's some stuff that I want to do. I have been keeping the bottom foot or so of the plant free of any leaves because the soil is able to splash up onto the leaves towards the bottom and start causing more diseases. This also lets it just have more air to breathe if there's not a bunch of leaves down here at the bottom. So I just go, and whenever I'm out here watering or something, I just clip those off of there. Those little suckers that are growing out. Now this is interesting. I've had this battle with leaf miners this year. And so you can see this particular branch has pretty much been infested by leaf miners in every single leaf. If it's just like a few of the leaves, I'll just pluck them off. Like I'll just go and take them off and get them out of the way. But since it's this whole branch here, since this branch is looking so bad, I'm actually just going to remove the whole branch. Otherwise, it's just soaking up energy from the plant that is a waste. So I just pinch and grab and pull off the whole stem. And this little sucker here will grow out and create new healthy leaves. Have you ever sniffed a fresh tomato plant? They smell real good. Can't put that in a candle. When should you harvest your tomatoes? Should you wait until they're nice and red and juicy and looking delicious? Probably not. They probably won't still be there. The bugs and the birds and the squirrels and everything else loves to eat your tomatoes just as much as you do. So these tomatoes here, they're still like really green, so I'm not going to pick these yet. But once they start to blush a little bit, once they start to change color, that's when it's good to pull them in. You can keep them inside on like a nice sunny windowsill and just let them finish ripening inside where they're nice and safe. And that'll work out better than waiting until the bugs eat them. Dr. Tomato is still working very hard in the lab, so she asked me to close out this video without her. Thanks for joining. I hope your tomatoes grow well. Let me know if you have any tips or tricks of your own for tomatoes. Leave them in the comments, and best of luck.